Sorry. um, this is a reading from Tuesday, December 27th, 2016. I'm having the hardest time not falling into old patterns of behavior. I know that part of it is hormonal because I just started my period and I'm feeling especially weepy. But part of it is definitely habitual behavioral patterns. I have a pattern of how I act around mom, and just being around her seems to be bringing it out in me, even though I feel like I'm trying to be aware of it. Oh, I guess I'm in Florida for Christmas with my family. So I have a pattern of how I act around mom, and just being around her seems to be bringing it out in me, even though I feel like I'm trying to be aware of it. I guess being aware of it is not enough to change the behavior. I'm not sure I fully understand why I act the way I do around her. I guess I've made a decision about what kind of a person I think she is, and I treat her that way, maybe regardless of whether she's being that way or not. In my mind, I have labeled her as irresponsible, and I have a very hard time thinking of her or treating her in any different way. This way of thinking came about probably about 12 years ago, possibly before that. But the thing is, I don't think that this mentality is unwarranted. She was really irresponsible for a very long time, regardless of whether or not she had legitimate reasons. And I felt like I had to be the responsible one to help her out. And I think I did help her a lot, or at least I tried to. I was there, being supportive, doing what I could to try to help when other people were getting angry. I was the emotional support. And then I felt like I got abused. I felt like I was giving and giving, and it was never enough. I felt bad because I didn't see the evidence that I was actually doing any good helping her. But more than that, she purposefully tried to make me feel guilty about not doing more. I felt like I was depleting myself emotionally. I felt like she was sucking me dry and she still wanted more. I still wasn't giving her enough. And the big kicker was that I left a life that I was really happy with in Arkansas to be there for her and to save myself from my dad. But I felt like I was making a huge sacrifice by coming here to Florida, and it was for her. But she just shut down. She just completely gave up. And then I was left on my own, it felt like. I didn't feel like I had anyone to support me. I feel like maybe I should explain a little bit of this. I know I did some maybe in the backstory, but so for a couple years, I think it was 3 years, we had moved to Arkansas. We had talked my mom into moving to Arkansas to be closer to my dad. At that time, we were trying really hard to develop a closer relationship with him. That was from age like 13 to 16. And my mom got married in that time that we were there in Arkansas. And then she was getting a divorce and wanted to move to Florida where her dad lived. She wanted to be near her family. She didn't have anybody in Arkansas. That was solely my dad's side of the family. So she was getting divorced and moving to Florida when I was 16. I had actually been quite happy as far as like my school life. I had a good circle of friends. I was dating a guy who I was really in love with. And so like my public life, my interpersonal life, was actually going quite well, and I was quite happy. I was not happy in my like family life. Things with my dad and that side of the family were very strained. I touched on some of that in the backstory, but so it was a very, very hard decision for me to make, but I finally decided to leave with my mom, and move to Florida with her. I I developed some resentment towards her because of that. Because I felt like because she was leaving, I was forced to make this really difficult decision. Because a large part of me wanted to stay in Arkansas because I had things that I really loved there. And but I knew that I couldn't stay there without her because that would mean that I would have to go live with my dad. And like I talked about in maybe the backstory or something, that was impossible. I couldn't do that. I knew that I would lose myself. So, so I developed some resentment towards my mom because I felt like she was the reason that I had to make this impossible choice. And I also felt kind of responsible for her. She was emotionally fragile, and I had spent a lot of time in my childhood being the emotional support for her. So I kind of still felt like that was my responsibility. But not just responsibility. I mean, I loved her, you know. We were close. You might, I mean, now that I look back at it, it might have even been like an enmeshment situation. What's the other word for that? Like codependent. It might have been semi like codependent. So anyway, that's what I'm talking about here. There's some resentment about having left Arkansas and the life that I had there, to be with my mom when she moved back to Florida. And when I did that, after we moved to Florida, my mom had a very difficult time. She kind of just stopped trying at life. She kind of just shut down and gave up. And I was 16 when we moved, and it kind of started then, but even more so after I turned 18 and graduated and moved out of the house. So we had this very tumultuous relationship in which I felt kind of responsible for being emotionally supportive of her and taking care of her. But also there was resentment about the fact of the role reversal. I moving to Florida, leaving my life there in Arkansas, this was all extremely difficult for me. And not only did I leave like my friends and boyfriend and stuff like that, but my twin brother, Nathan, decided to stay in Arkansas, because he had gotten really involved in Christianity. I suspect that he felt somewhat like obligated or called by his Christian faith to repair the relationship with our dad, or to evangelize our dad. I still, even to this day, don't fully understand the reason that my brother stayed when my mom and I moved away, but he did. And so that was, my twin brother. That was incredibly difficult to leave him, and it had some long-lasting ramifications. I was not doing well. I didn't do well for a while there after we moved to Florida. My mom and I moved to Florida, and so I held some resentment. Essentially, that's the general theme. I held some resentment because I felt like my mom put me in this impossible situation, having to make this decision. So anyway, there's some more backstory on that. Yeah. Okay. Continuing on. Wednesday, December 28th. I've been feeling very unhealthy here. I'm still in Florida for the holidays. In my body and in my heart. It's so strange because in some ways I'm so happy to be here with my family, but it's really hard to deal with them sometimes. It makes me feel like I must just be really bad at dealing with people if I can't even handle being around my own family for just a couple of days. But I know that's not true. Everybody butts heads with their family every now and mine seem to be particularly difficult. I was talking to Nathan yesterday about the difficulties that I had been having with mom, and the way that being in this place brings me back to a depressive time of my life. I don't remember exactly where we were in the conversation or how we arrived there, but Nathan said something about that I was never going to find the fulfillment or happiness that he had without Jesus. At the time, it really bothered me. Now that I look back, it doesn't seem quite as hurtful, but even still, I'm just really tired of being treated like an evangelistic conquest. I just want to be his sister. I just want to be loved unconditionally. I just want to be appreciated for who I am and not as a potential savee. I want to be able to talk to him about the things that I'm learning about, the things that I believe, but I know that's not possible. Thursday, December 29th, 2016. I have so much to learn, so far to go. And that's all I write for that entry. Friday, December 30th, 2016. Geez, what's happening? I woke up with all kinds of emotions, still trying to sort them out. It probably didn't help too much that I went to sleep last night analyzing a play-by-play of my visit with Sal. Oh. Sorry, I didn't realize what was coming up here. I still feel kind of weird about using names, but I haven't been reading this stuff ahead of time, so I'm coming across it by surprise. Um, okay, I'm only using first names. Sal was my ex that I left, Florida when I moved from Florida to Colorado. So I guess while I'm here in Florida visiting my family for the holidays, I have a little visit with Sal. It probably didn't help too much that I went to sleep last night analyzing a play-by-play of my visit with Sal. I'm not going to do it again here, but it left me with many different feelings swirling around in my heart. Part of me wants to just grab him and kiss him the next time I see him, and another part wants to play it cool, and still another wants to apologize for how things went down when I left him 4 years ago. Regardless, it's got me wondering if I might be ready to be with someone again. Am I ready? I still have so much work to be done on myself. But like Mom said last night, I am one of those kinds of people that will never finish working on myself. So I can't wait until I'm perfect to be with someone if I want to be, because it will never end up happening. One thing I do know, though, is that I am not the same person I was 4 years ago. I have done a lot of growing and a lot of maturing into myself. And if nothing else, all these feelings that I'm having just make me want to continue with my journey, to continue with my evolution. What would it be like if I could just be right here, right now? Why is it so hard? I try it and my mind starts going a mile a minute to the past, to the future, to where other people are in their present moments. How is it that I am a being and cannot just be? There's a quote here. I have no idea where it came from. We make a journey to the promised land, the other shore, and we have arrived when we realize that we were there all along. Okay, I'm gonna stop here.